Hi, good morning. Welcome to my channel. My name is Cynthia. I am a clinical social worker and I've been reading cards since I was 15. If you haven't checked out any of my readings before, that's just a little brief intro. One thing that was interesting, I meant to mention in my last layout, but I forgot. I got distracted by the layout itself. But I learned on the Crowley deck. I started reading at 15. The first reading I ever had was on a Rider-Waite, but then when I started reading cards myself, it was on the Aleister Crowley deck, the Thoth Tarot. And that used to be a real source of pride for me. I was very proud that I learned on that deck. It's not typical, I don't think. It's not what you hear often. And I love the images in the deck that are created by Lady Frida Harris, was her name. She was a painter. But I found out recently through reading Lane Smith's book, 78 Acts of Liberation, regarding tarot, that Aleister Crowley was a racist and an anti-Semite. And I did not know that. I don't know why I'm surprised, but I was surprised to learn that. I think because he was such an affirmer of like living in pleasure and not, letting your life be dictated by certain kinds of dogma. He's always bothered me a little because he seemed so full of ego. But I learned a lot from him about like embracing the devil inside, right? And not being so afraid of it and integrating it into yourself and uplifting yourself, right? And your bodily and being at peace with your body, right? And so to learn that he was such a buy-in bigot, it was disappointing. And people jumped to his defense, which is, I understand. I don't understand, but I'm not surprised that people always jump to his defense about it because so many people have gotten a lot from his work. But I just wanted to name that. I'm not going to abandon the Crowley deck. I mean, I have such a long-standing relationship with it that I will always love it, but I definitely have a new relationship to it since learning that, and I'm grateful to Lane Smith for pointing it out. But anyways, this reading's going to start out with some channeled dreams that I have that are of a disturbing nature. I'm going to try to refrain from interpreting them for you. You'll know if they're meant for you and what you're supposed to take from them. I'm not the teacher regarding that kind of thing. I'll tell you how they made me feel and what I took away from them for myself, but it will be up to you to kind of discern what I wasn't going to share them initially, but something so kind of deep and eye-opening happened for me right after one of the dreams that I realized I need to share it on the channel. I'm not supposed to neglect it. And then I'll do a card reading and then I'll pull some tiles. So the first dream that I had goes back a couple weeks, and by the way, it's my niece Rachel and her twin brother Mikey's 40th birthday, the big 40. I'm really celebrating them. My niece is an adventurer, a lot like I am, and there's a cute story one time when I was home I went to the Evergreen State College out of high school. I was fortunate enough to have my dad pay for my undergraduate degree at Evergreen, and I was home one time on a break and I was over at my sister's house visiting them, and my niece Rachel, whose birthday it is today, passed me a little note that talked about how cool she thought I was, and then she signed it my secret admirer, and I thought that was your secret admirer, and I thought that was really sweet. It's a memory I really love. And another cool memory about my nephew Mikey, because he's always pushed boundaries. He's always been somebody who really has pushed it, right? Because he has these adorable dimples and he was very toe-headed and just spunky, right from the beginning. And so people really encouraged that in him. But then he kind of became this little hellion for a while because of that. But anyways, there's this cute story about, I don't know what birthday it was. My sister would know, but I'm not sure which year. But he came downstairs for school and he was wearing a suit. And my sister was like, oh, wow, okay, what you doing wearing a suit? She was worried for him that he was going to be teased for going to school in a suit. And he said, well, it's a special day. It's my birthday, right? And she was like, okay, are you sure? And he was like, yeah, why wouldn't, to him it was obvious. Like, it's a special day. I need to look nice. I need to look my best. Well, he really got just laid into. He got teased all day. And my sister said that when he came home, he was just super defeated. And I've always cherished that little story because he was so true to himself, right? Like, it's a special day. I got to wear my suit. He must have been in grade school. It wasn't middle school yet. I'm guessing maybe around second or third grade or even younger. But yeah, kids can be mean, and they made fun of him, of course, all day for wearing a suit. So happy birthday to Rachel and Michael. So now the first dream then that relates, it was a series of 3 events that happened over the last course of the last 2 weeks for me in the dream space and in the sleep space. So a couple weeks ago, I had a dream that I was with my niece Rachel in Costa Rica, and she's traveled to Costa Rica before. And a bunch of people that I was meeting through her, like younger people than me, but people that I was on kind of the same vibe as them. And we were maybe going to be building something together, like a project or a house, and they were hosting me. They were already there, and I had gotten down there to join them and start my own project and maybe hook up with them on some of their projects. Well, the whole like compound area kept flooding. And so that was this kind of stressful thing that I was dealing with. And then at some point, her mom, my sister, was there, but not really engaged with me. She was doing her own thing, living her own life, doing her own thing. And she stoked a fire. Like, she built a really big fire in like this brick outdoor. It was outdoor, but it was like connected to the house that I was living in. So it was an outdoor fire pit, but it was like built into the wall or something, like an outside fireplace maybe, but connected to the house. And the house that I was born, where I wasn't born in the house, but when I was born, had like a brick outdoor cook area, and it was kind of something like that. And she went and like stoked this fire way up in this brick building, or not building, but fire pit thing, and then she left. And then I came across it later, and everything had caught fire. Like the wood pile next to it had caught fire. My home almost went up in flames. And I was like, oh my God, like in a panic in the dream. And when I woke up, I didn't think a whole lot of it, because in the past, I'd say maybe like within the last year, I had a dream that my ex did the same thing. We were in a home, and there was this big stone fireplace. And he had built a fire in the fireplace and built it up so big that, again, the wood pile next to it caught fire. And so, again, my home was threatened. And I was like, like I was the one that discovered it. And so when I had the dream about my niece within the last couple weeks or so, it's been like 1 or 2 weeks ago now, I didn't think a lot of it. I thought there must be some kind of subconscious thing going on for me. I didn't really feel like it was necessarily a channeled dream for this channel. I thought maybe it had something just to do with me and my own anxieties about family or whatever, right? And so then fast forward, I mentioned this dream because just in the last reading, I think even, I had a dream where, again, I was in my home and my other niece, Natalie, was there, and it kept being, I talked about this just in the last reading. So if these dreams are going to have relevance for you, I recommend that you go check that reading. It says angels and demons in the title. And so in that dream, I was in my home on the river. It wasn't the original home that I grew up in, but it was basically that place where I grew up, and they also lived there at one time, these nieces. And it was just more and more people kept coming, and they were like there to see me and celebrate me, but I kept feeling like something was wrong with it. Like I was being invaded almost, is kind of what it ended up feeling like, even though these people were like smiling, and they were people known to me, and like, this is great, we're happy we're here, but they were also like not respecting the setting or like checking in with me about it just felt insincere. At one point in that dream, when I was just kind of stressed out, everybody rolled out this cake for me, and it was in my home, and I was like, oh my gosh, look at this cake. Well, it was decorated with flames, okay? The cake was decorated with flames, and it had a couple lion images. So it was to me supposed to represent Leo, and that I'm a fire sign. But what was most noteworthy was not the lions. It was these flames that were decorated on this cake. And it was very brief that I had even any enjoyment of that before, again, I was just feeling inundated and invaded with like distraction, and I can't get anything done that I want to get done. So then now 2 nights ago, I woke up at like, you know, during the witching hour between midnight and 3 a.m. I came out of a sleep, and in my mind's eye, I saw 911. And so I was like, whoa, you know, I took note, because I don't ignore that kind of thing, especially numbers that I see repetitively, like angel numbers. And so I knew to be on aware, like maybe shield my energy or say a prayer, whatever. And then literally I fell asleep, and again, I woke up at 3 a.m. After I had seen this 911, I woke up at 3 a.m. and I kind of sat up and looked across my sleeping space, and on the wall was like light coming in from outside. It looked literally like there was a fire outside, like a huge fire. And I could see the light shining in and creating shadows on my wall in here. I wasn't asleep anymore. This was after I woke up. I was actually awake. And I was like, oh my God, what? And as I was seeing these flames and coming to like, holy shit, I think there's a fire outside, I heard this outlet that's right beyond this camera right here. It sounded like someone was tampering with this outlet. And then I heard beep, and everything shut off and shut back on. And the flames were still, I could still see these lit flames against my wall. And so I got immediately like, what the fuck? And I looked outside and I'm like, well, no, there's no fire. Look back at the wall. There's fire on the wall, right? Like lit, reflected light on my wall. I go over to I get up, I go over to another window, look out the other window. There's no fire out there. But it was unmistakable. The noise that I heard of someone tampering with, there wasn't anyone in here, but that's what I legit, the sound was very real. Like someone was in here tampering with my outlet. And when I came out, my little Wi-Fi booster was off and now resetting because the power clicked off and clicked back on. A couple days ago, I noticed, not in the dream space, but in my waking life, my burners were acting weird. So this is like serious messaging for me, and it's going to have your own meaning for you. Like you might be interpreting this as like the Trump administration or something, right? For me, it felt very personal. I feel very conscious of the fact that I need to be aware that somebody doesn't want good things for me, okay? And I'm okay. I'm not scared. Like, I know the things I need to do to protect myself. I'm fine. But I definitely was, like, being told to take notice. Then I fell back asleep that same night with the flames or whatever, and as I was falling asleep, a random YouTube video loaded on my phone, completely random. It's not a video I had saved or anything, but it was a video by a creator named Jason Stevenson about your guardian angel, and it was numbered 333. And so I felt very much like a confirmation that I was being watched over, and that I woke up out of the sleep state in order for me to be being told, pay attention, dark arrows. In fact, that's what I might title this video, is Dark Arrows. I have a card in my own deck called Dark Arrows, Use Caution, Lower Your Profile, which is like evil eye. It's another term for evil eye, is dark arrows. And so I pay attention to stuff like that. And I think another meaning for it is that sometimes in spell work, people will bring you a gift and it has spell work done to it, so that if you accept it into your home, the spell is now transferred to you, right? That's an old as time kind of practice for doing spell work and dark magic against someone. And that's what that dream was telling me about that cake. This cake was rolled in and given to me out of nowhere, and it was a gift that I accepted, and it was full of flames. So to me, that felt like spell work. So for me personally, that's what all of this means, is spell work for me. It may mean that for you, or you may interpret this dream, if it's resonating with you, as something more global, like environmental concerns or the Trump administration or fascism, right? It could mean anything to anyone, and it's not for me to determine. I know what it meant for me. I'm definitely doing the things that I need to take care of myself, right? I unplugged something from that outlet that I thought was potentially at risk, that was clicking a lot after, and I thought, well, I'm just going to unplug that. I don't need it anymore. It's a rug heater, right? But if there was something done to sort of make that an unstable outlet, right? Like, I don't want something plugged into it that then could catch fire. Same with my burners, right? So there's something about it, about fire or fire magic, or it's metaphorical, like the fire of this administration trying to burn a bunch of stuff to the ground. You know, rolling back environmental concerns. Forest fires is a big concern where I live, right? And cutting National Forest Service is insanity where we are, because we already don't have enough firefighters for our fire seasons anymore on the West Coast. But Trump is notoriously not a fan of the West Coast, so it could be something like that for you, right? So just take note. 911, there's something in this. If you're catching this reading, there's likely some messaging in those dreams for you. I'll pull tiles later just for extra confirmation. I don't need this notebook. I was going to read. Well, maybe I'll just check and see if there was anything else that I missed. Oh yeah, oh my God, I completely forgot about this part of the dream. There's a whole other part of the dream in here that is, again, like a warning. I wish I could, oh, okay, here it is, yeah. In the dream, usually I'm a stand-in for you, right? So my perspective in the dream represents what yours would be. Usually. I was getting a hearing test or a hearing treatment at a distant hospital. The hospital had a policy that if I'm coming from a distance, they'll host me to spend the night, right? They'll allow me to sleep over in this room that they reserve. It's something that I had done many times before. I get to the room, but I don't have anything that I need really to spend the night. It's mostly just something that I'm just going to stay and leave quickly the next morning. Like I don't have a lot of stuff with me, I guess is what I'm trying to say. My plan was just to spend the quick night, sleep over, so I didn't have to drive back all in the same day, and then leave early the next morning. But inside this place that I'm staying, that the hospital put me up in, there's this blonde Christian family, like a really huge blonde-haired, blue-eyed Christian family. And they're like, oh, there must be some mix-up. We're all staying here. But why don't you go ahead and stay? If you watch our dogs, we'll let you stay here, right, in exchange. And I was like, okay, I guess that's fair. And they had dogs from my past, which was interesting. They had a Keeshond, a German Shepherd, and a small white toy poodle mix. So I agree to this arrangement, but then I can't find anywhere in the house to sleep that isn't disturbed and dirty. Everything is like a mess. It looks kind of unhygienic. The family keeps saying they're about to leave, but then they don't. They start cooking a meal. So it's just tense, right? There's like this feeling of like, I don't know if I should be here or not. One of the kids of this family comes up to me, who's about 12, and says, hey, will you sell me some of that Valium or Xanax, I mean, that you mentioned? Well, I hadn't mentioned anything about selling Valium or Xanax. In the dream, I was like, I don't do that. I don't sell pills. But he was talking to me as if I had already said that to him. And so I was like, no, I don't do that. I didn't say anything about selling Xanax or Valium to you. Later, then I see these other kids have been putting like sticky stuff on my back. And it's like all over my clothes at this point. And I'm like, shit, what's with this family? They invited me to stay. They seem really nice. And now they're like fucking with me, kind of. And so I realized at that point I need to leave. So I decide to make my way back to my car. I'm looking all over for my purse and my stuff. I finally find it all and a bag of loose items that I had with me. I'm looking around in the bag and all of a sudden I see 3 ounces of bud, right? Which is cannabis. And so I'm like, what's this doing in here? And so the whole dream felt like a setup. So that kid telling me like, hey, let me buy some of that Valium or Xanax when I didn't sell it. I was like, what? And so in the dream I felt like, is he trying to catch me up in something? Then I find this weed in my bag and it's like, it feels like a setup. Okay. The images in the dream feel like a setup in the dream. That's just that. Okay. That was the other dream that I had totally forgotten about. And then I had one last night, actually, that I'm only just now remembering that's kind of related. And it's, again, I'm staying in a hotel related to my work. This was my old hospice job. And it was a similar kind of idea. I had gone up to Seattle or somewhere up that way for work, like for the hospice team. And I was staying in this hotel. Well, what I had kind of forgotten about was that it wasn't just my room. It was a room that anyone on the hospice team could use if they were in town. They could use it as like a place to get on their laptop or do whatever. Like if you're a hospice worker, you need places like that to work. And I had kind of forgotten about it. And so in the dream, I was smoking a little bit of pot in the hotel room. And all of a sudden, this management team shows up from like higher ups at Peace Health. And it was literally, again, I was like, how did these people know that I would, like, it felt like a setup. So you might be feeling set up in some way, either in your job or in your family or by an outside family that you don't know very well. So just, again, there was a lot of 911 setup, planting drugs, you know, and that's a thing, right? Like people will plant something on you. Even cops do that, plant drugs on somebody so that then when they get pulled over, they have a reason to arrest them and confiscate their car. So it could be anything like that. So just do whatever you need to do to watch out for yourself. That's all for the dreams. Setups and boom, did you see that? And maybe fire magic, right? So I'm going to pull, what should we make of this? What should we make of these warnings, this 911 material that came through for me in these dreams, right? And then too in my waking life with those burners and that outlet, and then the feeling of having a guardian angel watching out for me, right? Like what should we make of these messages from Colette Baron Reed's deck? What is important takeaway for us in a general way for the collective, right? It's okay if it's specific, but I want it to be as useful to us as possible, right? Besides the dreams themselves. I'm going to pull 2 cards here. What is important for us to understand about that messaging in this collective? Card 7 in the reverse, to the sea. This is a card about going with the flow. So I'll be curious what it says in the reverse. Trusting the flow of life and not feeling like you have to push or resist anything. But what does it say in the reverse here? When external conditions appear to block every attempt to move forward, there is no hidden message for you to decipher. Like the ocean, the tides of experience ebb and flow. You are in a natural cycle, so know that things will flow again in due course. There's no cause for alarm. Well, I like that. I like that it's trying to be soothing. Like, we don't have anything to fear. Stop resisting and fighting against the situation and learn to flow. Like, when I had these scary dreams and they were meaning, you know, like people close to me, it's not like I'm going to go confront those people now, right? I'm just going to take note because I don't know what it means. Like, I'm not going to accuse anyone of anything. All I know is that I'm supposed to be alert and, you know, and cautious, but I'm not going to try to force anything, right? I'm not going to go screaming fire and like raising hell and acting paranoid, right? I'm not going to live my life like that. So that's great advice here. Stop resisting and fighting against the situation and learn to flow, even when the tide is going out. Relax and trust in the abundance that will soon be within your reach again, like that guardian angel. I felt very watched over. An ancient mariner saying applies to you now. When fishermen cannot go to sea, they stay home and repair their nets. So that's what I did. I did the basics to try to make sure I'm safe here, right? Like unplug something that seemed like maybe it was going to glitch out with that outlet, right? Just not use that outlet so much, right? Because maybe there's something wrong with it. And then the next card is card 29 in the reverse, and it's breathe. I think this is a message about trickster. Oh no, it's not. Interesting. Inertia, laziness, and apathy are signs not of slowing down, but of decay and lifelessness. Wake up and do something to shake this off. Well, that was that 911. So we do need to take note, right? It's like a caution though about don't go berserk, right? You don't need to go berserk over this kind of warning. You need to stay cool. There's another reader I watch who is feeling sort of hunted and messed with spiritually, and she's just running and running and running and running, and I feel protective of her a little bit and like wanting to give her advice, like it's okay to just stand your ground and stay in one place and use prayer or whatever protective stuff, you know, but that's not for me to tell anyone, right? So wake up and do something to shake this off. Go outside for some air. A walk in nature will remind you that all of life is ensouled and magical. Get some exercise, move out of your head and into your body, and breathe in deeply. Each breath is precious. So that's great advice. Really great advice for this kind of experience where you're like, what is going on? Am I in danger? Right? Like when I was having that fire vision, I was like, whoa, what the hell? Right? Like that was really powerful. I'm going to pull, because it was visual, like I could see it even though there was no fire outside. And I trust those kinds of visions that I have. They're not all the time. So when I do have them, I pay attention, right? What's one more? Oh, rooster, and there's the rooster crowing outside right now. Protect yourself. Roosters are very protective, right? So the deer and oat, and this came in reverse. It's card 15. In the reverse, it means you may be feeling overwhelmed and in need of a break. Consider withdrawing for a while to heal in isolation. How do I rest and recharge? What practices nourish my soul? Very good advice. So don't let this take over, right? Just rest, get grounded. You don't have to have all the answers. Just, you know, take good care of you. I'll pull some of these cards and then a little tarot layout. What else should we know about this and these experiences? Clear the energy, cleanse your energy, however you do that, right? Salt bath, smudging. Your realness is rare. You are being acknowledged here for whatever your hunch is, right? Like you can trust yourself. You're being real. You're being authentic. You can trust whatever intuitive hits you're already having about this kind of scenario. And I just laid out like possibly an allegorical or metaphorical confirmation for you, or literal. It could be literal like it was for me. It felt literally like a caution about a fire. So I'm not going to be terrified to do anything or burn anything, right? Obviously, here I am burning this incense. But I am going to take note of like my outlets and make sure that there isn't anything dangerous that I need to be aware of, right? Are you receiving the same level of devotion that you offer? So look around yourself. Do you feel like you can count on the people right around you, right? Abundance and fertility and impregnation. So that's a good sign. There's good things happening as well, but take note of this stuff. But there's a lot of good happening. Like when I felt that kind of guardian angel type vibe happening for me, it really reassured me. Like, I don't have to be afraid, you know, like I can do practical things to make sure I'm protected. You know, I'm not going to turn my head away from the smart ways that I can to protect myself. I'm going to cleanse my energy. I'll do home protection type stuff. And then I'm going to also look for the good. What's some more advice for this kind of information? I just saw the sun card on the split, so that's good. And that's a fire element. That's beautiful, right? Love the sun. We need the sun. Because I got warnings about fire, like I said, I'm not going to stop burning incense. Burning incense is healing and cleansing, right? Am I going to burn it over my sheets? No. Right? What else is some advice for this situation? Three of Pentacles. So that speaks to me about receiving the same level of devotion that you offer. Like the Six of Pentacles, who are you working with? Who are you building with? Do you feel like you can trust them? You know, where's your community? Where's your successful building going to come from? Seven of Cups. Strength, the Lovers, the Hanged One, Three of Wands. So that's an echo. So we've got 2 threes there. The Seven of Cups is a caution too, not to get too in your cups, not to get caught sleeping on things by either escaping through drugs, choosing whatever because you're in a panic and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to choose to attack people that I saw in my dream. Like that's something we used to laugh about in me and my dad when we were growing up. Like if I had a dream that someone hurt me and then I wake up mad at them, even though they didn't hurt me, right? It was just a dream about them. You have to kind of have that discernment to know, when do I need to listen to a dream like that? And when do I need to ask myself, what is it teaching me about me, right? Because one theory is that everyone that shows up in your dream is a representation of you. And so that's why initially with those 2 fire dreams, I didn't think much of it until it really stacked up where it was like 911, pay attention, right? So you can trust things like that. If you're not sure, you can just kind of cruise control for a while until you get more signs, right? That's something. So, and then watch out. I remember kind of talking to a friend about drug use. Seven of Cups can be drug use, right? And saying like, yeah, it's great. I don't judge. If you want to do coke or whatever, that's fine. But you're not fully in your power. You know, you're more vulnerable if you're incapacitated to some degree, right? Just like if you're taking ayahuasca or something, you're not going anywhere. You're going to protect your body while you're going through the ayahuasca visionary experience by having people around you like the shaman or whoever that you trust to watch over you while you're going through that. You don't take ayahuasca and then go right around on a city bus, right? So just know that if you're going to get high and escape or do whatever, because not all sort of inducing an altered state is just to get high and escape. Sometimes it's teaching. It's knowing the difference, right? That's what this is saying here with the Seven of Cups. The challenge is to be strong. You might be tired of being strong, and that's why it's saying you need to breathe and rest. Like when I was having those dreams, I was like, God damn, again, like I feel like I'm being warned again about like nefarious things. I'm tired of that. Like I'm tired of having to bear up and be strong under that kind of energy. So that's a vulnerability. The strength is that you always have a choice. You always can pivot and move to do what you need to do to be safe. You're not disempowered. It's scary for sure. Like if you're in an abusive relationship, when you decide to leave that relationship and move out, sometimes that's the most dangerous time of all, right? In that relationship. And so but you still do have a choice. It's just maybe You need to not be hasty about things and put yourself at further risk. That's kind of coming through, right? You always have a choice. And this is an empowered choice with the Lover's card. You have a choice from an empowered place. The advice is Hanged One energy. So like it was saying, rest, go within, figure out where you need to not rest, and figure out where you need to just hold back and watch and wait, right? I'm surprised dark arrows didn't come up, but for me that's a good sign, right? It's a good sign that the dark arrows card didn't come out, because for a lot of us it might mean that the threat feels worse than it actually is. That could be. And if you just stay still and go within, you'll receive the guidance that you need, right? Where things are headed is the Three of Wands, which to me is interestingly striking me as these 3 candles. So something about fire is coming through. I'm going to pull clarifiers on that. Where are things headed with the Three of Wands? Because it also means kind of having had a vision and now you're acting on it. That's in the future position. So right now you're being told to wait and rest and go within, sort of, and figure out how to get back in flow, and then move forward again from a more informed place, not impulse. What else, though, about these Three of Wands here? Yeah, Knight of Swords. This is coming in like truth for you. These are going to feel like confirmations for the people they're meant for. About your work and who you're going to collaborate with. Like, oh, the Three of Pentacles is gone because I shuffled again. But who you're going to work with and where your projects are taking you. Right now it's okay to get back in flow, ground yourself, cleanse your energy, go within, figure out what this whole alarms system going off is teaching you, right? Is it teaching you about something internal that you need to deal with? Or is it teaching you to look around and say, things are not as they seem. Take note, keep watch, be vigilant, right? Take care of yourself. Don't panic, don't wig out, right? But just kind of get in flow, rest, right? And what else? Three of Swords. You might find out some sad truths from, like those dreams made me kind of question, like, who can I trust, right? And so you might find out in this Three of Wands energy about somebody that you can't trust, and it's a hard truth. Okay, so prepare for that. But again, this is really saying, like, don't stop doing your work. You can keep doing your work, even though you might have been tipped off to, like, hey, someone's trying to set you up. Did you know that? Someone planted meth in your car, right? Or something like it. You might get tipped off about something really negative, but it's kind of giving me the quality of you're not going to be hurt. You're escaping whatever, especially if you're tuned in and paying attention, not wigging out, not panicking, not barricading yourself in your home and peeking out the blinds and acting aggro, right? It's more about just, I'm going to start taking note. I'm going to start asking subtle questions here and there. I'm going to look something up real quick because I'm on a hunch, and I'm going to follow the hunch. I'm not going to ignore it and go into denial. It's this kind of discerning energy. It's coming through really strongly. I love it, actually, because it's also really reassuring. You've got this. You're being commended is what it's saying for your wisdom, and now you're being cautioned. Don't go off the deep end with it. Don't freak out. Don't start accusing people. Watch and wait and rest. There might be some information coming in that's disappointing or that hurts you, or that you find out, whoa, man, you tried to set me up, you're my brother, or something, right? Something like that could be. But you've got this again. Oops, I don't need to put that away yet. Now I'm going to pull some tiles. And we'll see if there's any more coming out about this. But yeah, this might be a time, like for me a while ago, I decided I'm going to abstain from weed for a while because I want to be clear and focused. And that's what this situation was for me with the Seven of Cups. I don't want to be fuzzy, right? I want to have my wits about me. Could be something as simple as that. Watching your drink when you're out, making sure you're not going out on a date with someone you don't know and leaving your drink, right? That's something that people have to think about these days. 1 month, money and love might be important. Within the next month, something about your love and money might come to light. Like somebody that you trust and love may have been stealing from you or something like that. Rue. Rue is a protective herb. That just came out right away. AA. AAA. AAA is a service that you can use to protect you if you have a blowout or, you know, your car breaks down. Release of information. So that could relate to that health. ROI is a release of information. AAA, I got AAA because I was like, I don't really have anyone right now that I feel good about asking to come get me if I break down somewhere. So I'm going to get AAA so I feel protected, right? Jane, juke, like a jukebox or a juke joint kind of place. Jake, Jackie, Dave, Bung. Bung is a plug for a hole. So like it would indicate like a leak, maybe I'm plugging a hole if you have a leak somewhere. Crone, which is an older woman, right? Ron V, that's my dad. Ron Vogue. God, it's almost Ron Vogel, right? Not quite though, but the L is missing. VOGE is there though. There's just no L. Rhonda, wow. No H though. But so the letters are just slightly off, but that's, you know, another. Bud, I had that dream about bud. I called it bud, but it's another word for weed, right? Brad. Juan or Juana. Kira or Kyra. Noor, Noor is a name, Noor. Bad. Vita or Vita. Gina. Regina. Raina. Bike. Kin, like family, kin. Kinder, which is German for child, right? Or children. Gore. That reminds me, I'm waiting on a card deck that goes into like old Hollywood horror movies. So there might be something about gore, literally, or Cue, like you might like to shoot pool, or this is a cue that, yeah, hey, I need to pay attention. Something's up. Something's amiss. You've got this. You're okay. Again, I want to reassure. And if none of this has been in your mind, this is not your reading. This reading is not for everyone. I'll put that in the description box as well to remind people. Diane. Or Diana. Oregon. India. Indiana. Vera. Bone. Bone is used in magic, right? Reagan. Jude and Judah. Car. So Bud and car, right? There might be something, watch your, maybe just check your car, right? Again, no need to panic, but just be aware. Okay, beside 2 different dreams, 2 nights in a row about being set up with drugs. So that is probably going to have relevance for someone. And it's not to panic you. This is like a warning in advance, right? So you can make sure. Do I need to check my car and make sure nobody stashed any of their supply in my car, right? Maybe it's not even intentional. Maybe it's accidental on someone's part, but they left something in your car on accident and now you're going to take the fall. So just watch out, right? Watch out for something like that. Jordan. Bon Iver, you might like that band, or it has relevance to your story in some way. California is here. Or Bon Iver. I've always said Bon Iver. I don't even know if I've ever said that guy's name out loud. So yeah, just know that. EU, European Union, California, Indiana, Oregon, all of those are places that came out. India also came out. Cairo. Grover. Cairn. Cairns are like trail markers, right? or way showers, cairns. Cujo, so that's another gore came through. So someone might like horror movies because here's Cujo. That's a book and a movie by Stephen King, which is terrifying. And those dogs came in my dream. And I've had other dreams about being circled by dogs, like Hounds of Hell type dreams. So Cujo, right? There could be something to do with that for somebody. Carrie. Karen. Vine. For some reason, as soon as I spelled out Vine, there's a song covered by Screamin' Jay Hawkins, but I think it's originally by Tom Waits, called Heart Attack and Vine. That's a song about doing coke. So drugs is involved for some people in this collective, okay? Eve and Ava. Grand or grad. Kirk. Oh no, not sorry, there's not two K's. Okay, I think that's about it. That's a lot. That's a lot that came out there. Oh, I wanted to pull one of these too. We'll just see if there's any messages from one of these longer hazel sticks that can be helpful too. Resounding yes. So something that's going to mean something. If you've been wondering if you should do something, or, you know, the answer is yes. So now I'll just pull one more card for us, and we will call it good. What's a final message here? What's a final message for us? I'm going to pull another one of these Woodland Gardens cards. What's a final takeaway for this kind of cautionary reading? Use caution, but don't live in fear, right? Go about your life. Take this as a warning that came in time, right? For you to follow whatever hunch you may have been feeling about something and actually check it out. But you also need to rest and breathe and don't go off the deep end. I know I keep saying that, but it's important because at time when you get warnings like that, it's easy to get really scared. You're like, oh my God, is everyone out to get me, right? Like, you don't need to take it that far. It's not that level of a warning. In fact, there's good things coming. You just need to check in with yourself about, like, the people around you and, like, are you feeling like you can trust them? You might find out some negative news that's going to be sad, but it doesn't mean you should stop doing your work and going forward with your own life right now, right? Just be still. It's not a time for big moves, but it's a time to shake off any denial you might be in, that's for sure. It's a final message here. The lizard and the pitcher plant, and it came in the reverse. This is final messaging for this reading. This indicates a lost opportunity. Remember that it's okay to pass on some things, but before you turn away, ask yourself why you may feel averse or disinterested. What fears, if any, inform your decision? What could I drop in order to feel like I am moving forward again? So it's great messaging. It's a great, simple advice. What might you let go of so that you don't feel like you're getting caught up or set up or like you can't trust the people around you? If that's a big theme for you right now, you don't want to live like that long term, right? You don't want to be stuck in a place where you feel like you can't trust the people around you. So I hope this is helpful. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Ooh. Man, I really need to get out of here so I don't have to stiffen up every time I do a reading. Bye.